This is 2.4 adaptations of the body. So as you can see, there is an image of Gareth Bale on the screen. You can see on the right he's playing for Tottenham, and on the left he's playing for Real Madrid. So from making his move, there was a vast difference in Gareth Bale's physique and physiological aspects of his game. Gareth Bale plays football which uses both aerobic and anaerobic systems. This is because there are times during a match where you're not really needed to sprint after the ball, or you're just walking or jogging or something. So like if the ball's not near your position, therefore you're not really needed to sprint and you could be able to walk or jog at times. This can be linked with the intensity of the sport as well. So as you have moments where you're sprinting and jogging or walking, Gareth Bale will need different components of fitness such as speed, power, agility, muscular endurance, and aerobic endurance. One way Gareth Bale may train could be fartlek training. This is due to the fact it represents the different game scenarios of sprinting, walking, and jogging. Gareth Bale will also need to take part in weight training to sustain his muscular strength. Gareth Bale may see many different adaptations, such as a decrease in resting heart rate and breathing rate, an increase in cardiac output, and muscular hypertrophy. These are all a result of Gareth Bale's training. So now we move on to aerobic training methods. So examples of aerobic training methods may be interval training, fartlek, and like continuous training. So continuous training would be like going for a 6 mile jog without stopping, going at a steady pace. This could be 9-minute miles, for example. There are ways of adapting continuous training, such as the distance, speed, and terrain. You could also increase the amount you run each week from 3 times a week to 5 times a week. Fartlek training is a great training method for aerobic endurance in game sports, as it has running, sprinting, and walking aspects of the game, such as football or rugby. You can also adapt these training sessions to have longer sprint sections with shorter walk sections and a long jog, or you could swap these rounds so they are even and you do the same amount of walking as you do jogging and sprinting. You can also train more each week and train for longer periods of time. Interval training is not only used for anaerobic training, as you can change the intervals to suit aerobic training. This can be done by making sprint sections smaller, and instead of sprinting you just jog at around 85% effort. This will therefore not be maximal training. You're still able to change the length of the training and the amount of time you take part in the training session each week though. Now we move on to anaerobic training. So anaerobic training consists of activities such as interval training, fartlek, and so interval training will help aerobic fitness as you're sprinting with short intervals in between. The length of this interval can be adapted to suit any individual really. These sessions can be made shorter or longer with different size sprints and can be taken part in more times a week if necessary. Fartlek training can be taken part in with longer sprinting sections, short tiny little jogs, and then a bit of a longer walk. This can then be purely focusing on working your anaerobic systems. This training can be taken part in more each week over a 6-week plan, and the length of the sessions can increase. HIIT training is high interval intensity training. So it's very high intensity. You work as hard as you can for a few seconds, and then you switch it up and then have a little rest and do something else. These sessions can be taken part in as many times a week as an athlete wants, as they really don't take very long. They can be done in like 15-20 minutes, or even quicker than that if you really want to work hard. And some of them are, you can do training sessions that are purely focused on your anaerobic training systems. You can obviously then take as many times as you want, and you can make longer sessions if you need them to be longer. The cardiovascular system can be linked to aerobic performance. This is because the heart pumps blood to working muscles. This then allows the muscles to contract, create the movement to perform exercise. If our heart didn't pump blood to the muscles, then we wouldn't be able to make this contraction. And as our heart becomes more efficient, we can then make more contractions for longer periods of time as there's more blood going to the muscles. So here you can see the pre-data and then the post-data after the training sessions. So as you can see from the data over the training period, the athlete's VO2 score, their VO2 decreases towards the start. This is because their heart is more efficient due to their cardiac hypertrophy lowering the resting heart rate. The heart also has a larger stroke volume to reduce the resting heart rate. This is why at the start of the VO2 data it's lower. The data then increases similarly to the pre-data, however it's at a lower score, which shows us is at a lower VO2 consumption, which shows us that adaptations of the heart are having a good effect on the VO2 score. As the heart is healthy and then able to eject more blood each beat at a faster rate, this allowed the athlete to go above and beyond the first score. As you can see, there's an arrow there. Okay, so first we're going to talk about cardiac hypertrophy. So cardiac hypertrophy is an increase of the size of the heart chamber wall. Increase of the size is due to regular participation in aerobic exercise. This will then allow an athlete to pump more blood around the body to working muscles. This therefore helps the performer as they're able to have more blood transported to working muscles, so then they can exercise for longer periods of time. This will also decrease resting heart rate as to the cardiac hypertrophy, more blood will be pumped around the body in a single beat as the heart will be more powerful and stronger. So this really helps long distance runners as they have a stronger heart and be able to exert more force through their heart, and then they'll be able to contract the muscles more. So athlete's heart is the second thing. So this is where the heart becomes larger due to cardiac hypertrophy. This allows an athlete to lower their resting heart rate over time due to the increase of the size of the heart. The increase in size of the heart allows an athlete to pump more blood around the body in a single beat. This also increases stroke volume as blood is pumped around the blood, as more blood is pumped around the body in a single beat. So that then means that the heart rate can decrease as in each beat more blood is being pumped than, say, before you've done the training. You might have 2 heartbeats for every one after the training. Cardiac hypertrophy can be linked to an increase in stroke volume. This is because there is an increase in cardiac hypertrophy, which allows for more blood to be pumped in a single beat. This will then have an effect on stroke volume. Stroke volume will then be able to decrease in situations such as rest, as there is more blood being pumped in a single beat. Due to the impact on stroke volume, heart rate is able to increase to a larger heart rate before having to plateau, as stroke volume won't be able to fill in time. Therefore, due to cardiac hypertrophy, heart rate is also able to increase. This really again helps aerobic runners, such as long distance runners, as they'll be able to go for longer as their heart rate can sustain a larger amount of beats per minute. As you can see from the pre and post data, there's a dramatic change in the VO2 results. The main factor for that result is the change in stroke volume. Due to the cardiac hypertrophy, the heart is able to pump more blood out the ventricles. This allows the stroke volume to increase as more blood is ejected in each pump. Also, the heart rate will decrease due to more blood being pumped out the heart. This causes an even greater increase in stroke volume as there is a longer period of the time between the heart allowing the ventricles to fill more before being ejected. So as you can see here, this is the post data and this is the pre data. So pre data is a lot higher, starts a lot higher, finishes higher, whereas the heart rate profile for post, it starts a lot lower, increases similarly, but then it can go on further and increase more due to the more efficient heart. So now moving on to, so from the heart rate data you can see that the heart rate starts at a lower rate as the cardiac hypertrophy will cause the stroke volume to increase, meaning more blood is ejected in each beat. This causes the heart rate to decrease as more blood is being pumped around the body in a single beat. The heart will then increase until stroke volume plateaus. Heart rate will then increase beyond this point due to the increase in cardiac output because of the cardiac hypertrophy. The heart rate will then increase until the athlete cannot carry on and has fatigue. Okay, so our heart rate range is the range your heart rate goes from your max, which is 220 minus your age, and your resting heart rate. Due to training, our resting heart rate will decrease as our cardiac hypertrophy allows us to have a larger stroke volume, meaning more blood is pumped in each beat, in turn decreasing heart rate. The benefit of this is that we will have more efficient heart, which can pump more blood in less beats. This will allow us to exercise for longer as the heart rate can increase by more. These adaptations have an impact on our cardiac output. This is because due to the cardiac hypertrophy, there is an increase in stroke volume, heart rate, and heart rate. This increase allows us to increase our cardiac output. This will mean we can supply working muscles with more oxygen and nutrients to exercise for a longer period of time. Again, this helps an endurance athlete who's working for a long period of time, and then their muscles can be supplied with oxygen and nutrients for this period of time. Capillarization allows an athlete to increase their amount of capillary beds to working muscles. This is from an athlete taking part in aerobic exercise. The increase in capillary beds will mean more blood can be pumped to working muscles. Capillarization allows working muscles to be supplied with more oxygen. It also helps to remove the buildup of waste products. This allows us to exercise for longer periods as the waste products are being removed and oxygen is being delivered, again helping aerobic athletes. Due to aerobic training, red blood cell count will increase. This is because erythrocyte protein causes red blood cells to be created in the bone marrow. Due to the increase in red blood cells, we'll be able to supply working muscles with more oxygen and nutrients. This allows an athlete to exercise for a longer period of time as nutrients and oxygen are constantly being delivered to working muscles. Due to an increase in blood volume, there will be more red blood cells to supply working muscles with oxygen and nutrients, and also there's been an increase in plasma. This can decrease the blood pressure. The capillary is not pumping thick blood, they're pumping thin water-like blood. Due to this, an athlete can exercise for longer and harder without the risks of a heart attack or like coronary heart disease. Due to the increase in plasma, the viscosity of the blood changes. This makes the blood not as thick and a more watery substance. This is key for an athlete as the heart struggles to pump blood around the body if it's really thick, whereas the thinner blood is easily pumped around the body. This allows an athlete to exercise for longer periods of time as blood is easily pumped around the body. The training also has certain impacts on an athlete's health, such as a decrease in the risk of coronary heart disease. This is due to exercise using heart, making it efficient and healthy. There's also a lower chance of atherosclerosis as an athlete is exercising regularly each week, making sure that blood is pumped around the body. As this happens, there is less chance of fatty deposits being left in the arteries as blood is regularly being pumped around the body. There's also less chance of arteriosclerosis. This is because there is constant blood flow around the body and arteries. So, as blood volume has increased, this will stop arteries from hardening. The chance of hypertension is also decreased as an athlete is exercising regularly, decreasing their blood pressure as long as their diet is reasonably good. This exercise reduces blood pressure as blood volume increases, so therefore the blood vessels are not straining under pressure to push thick blood around the body. Okay, so moving on to respiratory adaptations. So due to endurance training, such as continuous training, our ventilation will increase. This amount of air breathed in and out in 1 minute. This would aid marathon runners as they'll be able to inspire more oxygen and expire more waste products. This will allow for more oxygen to be delivered to working muscles and create movement. So then the endurance athlete will be able to create this movement for a longer period of time.